Good morning, Jeremy. My name is Aaron Kilbon. I go by KB and I serve with the British Army.
What's going on, everyone? Thank you for tuning into this episode, whether you're on YouTube, Spotify, or Apple. Please, I'm asking you guys to share this content, like it, and if you're enjoying these episodes, please comment. That will help out the channel a lot. Share it with your friends, and let's get into the episode. Aaron Kilbon, welcome to the show, brother.
Good morning. Thanks for
Hey,
having
good.
me, mate.
Hey, I'm excited to have you on, man. I know this was a long time coming, dude.
Yeah, I have probably a busier schedule these days than I did actually when I was serving. Um, and it's pretty crazy. I'm actually on call right now, so I'm hoping we don't get interrupted.
No, it's all good. I know life keeps lifing, and I don't do this full time either. So I have a very like, hey, can we work out this deal? Can we work it out here? It is difficult, right? When you
Yeah,
don't have free time all the time.
yeah. But I love what you do, man. I think you've done a really good job of giving some of us lower folk some really a fantastic platform to kind of tell some stories and maybe some things that don't get shared very often. You hear about your Medal of Honor recipients and all the crazy soft guys. The internet has pretty much become like a soft, you know, just
Fanboy.
haven. Well, yeah, a little bit, but there's a lot to be said about the evolution of the military and of the average soldier throughout the course of the war on terror, which yeah, I was both a privileged and cursed to be a part of.
Yeah, for sure. I can agree with you on that. I'm very excited to get into uh the British side and your story because like I told you earlier, I've never even interacted with a, in my eyes, foreign military downrange, right? I was in the Kandahar province, Maywan district, and yeah, we were just with America. I mean, the only foreign military I interacted was with the ANA. I didn't see any of you guys. I didn't. I That was it. It was just Americans in the ANA.
Yeah, well, I'm sorry you had to interact with the ANA, mate. However, thankfully, yeah. So I do remember Kandahar very, very well because that was our through route in and out of Helmand Province before we go to Camp Bastion, which by the time that we would come into the country.
Hmm.
And I remember the boardwalk. I remember playing. Um, for you, it's just football. For me, it's American football. But I do remember playing with some American troops and soldiers, and going to the TGI Fridays and just having like a wild like spectrum moment of like, hold on a minute, this is amazing.
Yeah. It I I'm excited though, because I'm really interested in how you guys fit into the big pie, right?
Sure,
When
sure.
I was a young soldier, I didn't see the overall picture. And the older I've gotten and the more I've done these podcasts, everybody played a role. And like you told me, we're giving a voice to everybody, no matter how small the part or how big the part was.
Nice,
Yeah.
man. Yeah, I mean, we being a European country, we trained a lot with foreign troops within Europe all the time. Germans, Canadian Rangers, the Dutch, the Danish,
Uh-huh.
um, even French troops.
Yeah.
They had a big part over there too. Um, and but Americans, man, serving alongside you guys, of which I still do actually. And a lot of former U.S. military I still work with as well. And now my son is a United States Marine as well. My middle son, and he's home on leave this weekend for Valentine's Day. So I have a deeper connection and with the U.S. military, and I think the U.K. does as a whole. I don't think people understand how strong that relationship is.
Right. Yeah, no, I hope we start bridging the gap a little bit here. What so how did you get about joining the army over there?
Okay, so we recruit very differently in the UK. We recruit from local areas. So all of our companies of each of our battalions are actually structured to be a part of the recruitment process in your home county. So I was originally born and raised in Boston, England, because we have a counterpart city to you guys. And you go to a recruiting office, you sit down, they discuss some of the options, and if you want to be recruited into what is called the home battalions, you are recruited into the county that is assigned to your battalion. Because I had family history in the first battalion, the Royal Anglian Regiment, I actually crossed borders of the county and didn't recruit within my home county. My godbrother did. He was a second battalion, Royal Anglian Regiment. I joined the first battalion by going into the city and visiting. Back then, it was Corporal Kitson, and he sat down and you do what's called a barb test, which is like your ASVAB,
Hmm.
and they structure you on, logic, intellect, all that good stuff, and you get a grading. Once you get a grading, they give you a list of all the jobs that they're offering you. And I got 3 pages. They wanted me to go into what's called C3 systems, which is internet warfare, games and communications, military intelligence, and things like that.
Yeah.
And I was pretty set because of my granddad of joining the infantry. So that's which, yeah. So my recruiter was all game for it because that was his regiment, the First Battalion, Royal Anglian Regiment. Those guys deployed throughout the war on terror. I remember I was kind of intimidated by joining them because those guys had already seen 3 tours of duty during GWOT before I'd even seen them and met them.
Yeah.
So you go in, you go to the recruitment station, and you've got this long list. And I put infantry, just a big line underneath it. And so each of the counties have their own regimental cap badge, of which mine is the Royal Anglian Regiment, and it's going to be that guy right there.
Uh-huh.
And that is on your beret. Your beret is a specific color also, which denotes what branch of the army that you're in. So
Yeah.
for us, it's the green, it's the khaki green, and then it's got a tombstone behind it, a black tombstone, and then the badge on top, and then you get what's called a tactical recognition flag on your arm as well. And
Okay.
ours is red and gold, which is blood before dishonor, and that was from an old French war back, hundreds and hundreds of years ago,
Yeah.
for the Battle of Minden, and it's called the Minden Flash. So once you get picked up, they give you your minimums for your fitness, and for infantry, you have to do a mile and a half in under 10.5 minutes,
Mhm.
and then you have to do your push-up and sit-ups. It's like a Cooper test almost.
Mhm.
And it's as many push-ups, as many sit-ups as you can do, and then a mile and a half run, and that gives you your basic fitness grading. I went all the way from Peterborough, the recruitment station, up for selection to actually get placed and actually get an official certificate of being offered a job in the army.
Yeah.
And we get what's called open reserve contract, which is 22 years. They give you 22 years right off the bat.
Dang.
So you can be employed for that long if you want. And the recruitment station itself gives you a train ticket, because in England we don't really learn to drive like Americans do until later on in life. And I actually got my driver's license through the army. So they sent me up to Glencorse in Scotland, which is just outside of Edinburgh.
Yeah.
And you go up there as like a group of like 50 or 60 dudes, and in your PT gear. And the first time I went up there, I got turned away because I was overweight, because they give you your medical before you go in. So I
Yeah.
had to sit there for like 2 days before my train ticket brought me back. Sat on the bed in the billet, just watching everybody get their job offers. And I was like, oh man, I thought like I'd done really well. My fitness was good. I was getting my times, I was getting my push-ups, my sit-ups, but my BMI was just a little bit too high. And they're like, nope, go fix it. So they
Oh
turned me
shit.
away. So I had this like 3.5 hour train ride home from Scotland back to England, just disappointed with myself. And it was
Yeah.
like one of the first big rejections, one of the first big failures I'd ever had, that really fixed a lot of like psychological childhood deficiencies. And I was like, man, I thought I was gonna ace it. Second time I went back, aced it, got through and got my job offer.
Hey,
And
before we move on, I'm
yeah,
actually
no,
kind
go
of
ahead.
curious. Is like, is joining the military over there, is it kind of like America, like it's very sought after, or do you guys prefer going to college over there? How's that work?
So education is these days is free until I think you're 21 or 22 or something like that. They'll pay for most of it,
Uh-huh.
but you have to have the qualifications before. So I did not. I flunked out of high school. I did some secondary college courses. This is going to go off on a little bit of a tangent, but
No, we definitely
I,
need to hear it.
I did music and sound production.
Okay.
And before I could get that, because I had no, they're like, you didn't even take music in high school. What are you doing? What are you doing putting in for a music college? Like the Sam Newsom Music College in Boston is actually pretty renowned. And I was like, well, I want studio access because I wanted to record my own metal songs. So I ended up joining Peterborough, and it was music and performing arts, and it was all like acting and drama. So I was a drama kid in school,
Mhm.
and got it, and finally, finished out like 8 months
Yeah.
of that or so. For the British Army, if you don't have those qualifications, as soon as you get to your battalion, they educate you and get you your diploma. You have to do numeracy, literacy. You
Oh,
have to do your public services course in Darlington
yeah.
College. So they don't want dummies in the army. So I ended up getting my education after I joined the military,
Yeah.
and then ended up, I mean, even as an infantry soldier, they sent me to the University of Westminster and the Darlington College, and I ended up getting
Wow.
another language out of it because they taught me Arabic.
Mhm. And, so you said you had family lineage in the 1st battalion. I'm like, who were they kinda the ones that after you didn't the
Yeah.
school thing didn't work out, were they the ones that kinda motivated you to go do that stuff?
Um, kind of. They'd already passed at that time. It was my
Mhm.
grandfather. Now, my grandfather was part of the Royal Lincolnshire Regiment, which is where I'm from. Those guys became the second battalion in one of their companies,
Okay.
and then my great great uncle served in the Suffolk Regiment, which it then became B Company, the first battalion over,
Yeah.
once the amalgamation happened in the 60s.
Mhm.
So I had a long legacy of family that served in the military, as grandparents and great grandparents,
Mhm.
and that really really inspired me. My
Yeah.
grandfather didn't share a whole lot of stories because he served in Germany in World War II, and then my great great grandfather served in World War One.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
So was there something that clicked in your head that, since the theater arts and the music didn't work out, that the military was the path for you?
Yeah. 9/11 was a big uh, milestone in just my understanding of the world.
Yeah. How old
How
were you during that time?
I was, what was that, 2000 and
1.
one, so I was 23 years old.
Okay. Go
Yeah,
ahead, sorry.
23. I'd already been an army cadet from the age of 13 because we have the army cadet force in the UK,
Oh, well.
and you can join. It's like a pre-military preparation for like a youth group that is uniformed and military, and you get to serve um, on actual military bases with actual soldiers that train you.
Oh,
Um,
okay, that's cool.
and we also have Harrogate Military College, which a lot of the guys go through at 16 years old, and they get their diploma that way too. It almost guarantees you a job in the military. A lot of colleges do what's called a pre-uniform course, which also
Mhm.
prepares you for public service, and that's what I ultimately ended up getting my diploma in. So I got like my equivalent of having what we call A levels. Um, once I'd gotten in the military, they educate you as well, which is
Oh,
awesome.
wow.
Yeah, yeah, they won't leave you leaving the army uneducated, which is nice.
Yeah. That's
Um,
interesting how, like, so, does every male have to do that, pre-cadet thing, or is that, like, something you volunteer for,
no,
or
it's entirely voluntary. I think the equivalent is almost like an ROTC.
Oh,
Uh,
okay.
it's yeah, and then you start going through, for Marines here, it's MEPS and things like that, and that gets you prepared and starts getting you
Uh-huh.
involved, and then you actually do. You guys swear in. We do what's called an oath of allegiance. I still
Yeah.
have that certificate. with Her Majesty's Queen Elizabeth II's name on it, signed by the local commander, which means, you know, a lot to me. It's got the crown seal on it. It's beautiful paper, and I still have that certificate. It means a
Yeah.
lot to me, you know.
I feels like there's a lot more, I hate to say it like this, but, I feel like the pride over of Britain is, like, strong.
Yeah, regimental tradition is a really big deal, and actually, the battle honors that we still have. They're encrusted across the drums of our drums platoon, so our like regimental bands and stuff.
Right.
The Minden Flash that we had, man, in 2009, I think we had the 250th anniversary of the regiment. I got the picture downstairs. I think that's what it was. It was like the quarter of a millennium regimental tradition. The equivalency I've seen, because the US Army is so big,
Right.
I think it's so much harder because of restructuring, because of money, budgets, all that stuff. It's much harder to instill those hundreds of years. Obviously, you've got some units that do it, like, you know, the airborne guys have a lot of you know, tradition back from the decades and the centuries. The Marine Corps is a big one. I see a lot more similarities in the way they hold true to their traditions. Not to dog on the other units at all, but I see that.
Yeah.
Coast Guard, Navy with the ship names, you know. Yeah, we do, and we remember those guys. They actually teach regimental history, and when you're going through basic training, which is called the CIC course for us, they send us on battlefield tours. So we actually visited Hill 62 in Belgium, Ypres. We went to Tynecott Cemetery. I laid the wreath at Meningate in Belgium, which was a big deal. So they're constantly reminding us the importance of the men and the legacy in which we follow. And the men and women of the British military, they all very, very knowledgeable on their regimental history,
Yeah.
for
No,
sure.
that's a genius idea. I mean, that's a good way to keep traditions alive and then also, like, know who came before you because, I would agree with you. I was with 1st Armored Division, and it's a tank unit, and we didn't even
Right.
have tanks.
Oh shit.
We were rocking Strikers, right? Like,
Best I can
so
do is this guy. That's the best I can do.
yeah, I'm over here like they don't even have a fully mission capable tank, so it's kinda like, I understand where that's coming from, so, uh, okay, so what is the year that you okay, so you do the 2nd physical portion to get in. How does that
Yeah,
what year was that?
yeah. So I think it was 2006 was the first time
And
I
you're
went.
you're what, 20 probably like 26?
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, pretty late when I'm joining the Vikings, and then so I go back, get my contract in '07, pass the selection process in Glencourse, go back to the same place. So I've already
Mhm.
spent, you know, another 7 hours on a train. It's like Hogwarts, mate, is the best way I can describe it, because the
Yeah,
train goes from Peterborough all the way up along the coast of England, through Berwick upon Tweed into Edinburgh. So there's like beautiful cliffs and coastland, and you know, um, you get there, you get off the train, you get kind of marched to a minibus, and then you get taken to the Glencourse base there. So you go into the barracks, get all your physical testing, and then at the very end, once you've completed it, they give you a well done, because the last portion is that run. And I remember running my ass off, getting back all the way to the barracks, sitting down with then a second recruitment officer who's going to give you your certificate of completion for your selection process. And then I sat down with him, and he's looking at it, and he's like, "I've got infantry down here." I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "But you qualify for C3 systems, which is basic communication engineering and military, you know, war games." He's like, "You don't want to do satcoms and all that good stuff?" I'm like, "Absolutely fucking not. I want to fight." I'm like,
yeah,
you know, 9/11 was still big in my mind, and watching all this stuff happen across the world, I ended up telling him, I was like, "No, infantry," and I stuck to my guns, because
uh-huh,
Corporal Kitson had warned me beforehand. He's like, they're gonna push you, because of what you ended up scoring on the Barb test. And I said no. So I end up coming back. I get my ship date, pack all my bags, and they're like, "All right, cool. You're gonna go off to your combat infantryman center training, which is the in Catterick, and
okay,
that way you do do your infantry training there, and it's 26 weeks straight.
How okay, so that little test area where you do the physical fitness to get
Glen
in,
course. Yep.
yeah, what is it called? Glen course?
Glen course. Yeah. So GLEN CORSE.
Okay,
Glen
so the
course
Glen
in
course, how
Scotland.
long is that?
3 days.
3 days? Okay,
Just
and
over
then
a
that
weekend.
so whenever you get, like whenever you pass that, that's when you can officially go to the school of when you need to
Correct.
get your job.
Correct. Yep. And you return to the recruitment center first. Give them your little certificate that you got. They get notified that you're passed and you're eligible, and then you have basically your little ceremony of giving your oath of allegiance. Um,
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
So when you do the 26 weeks,
Hmm.
is it like set up for you to I want to get into it, but like
Yeah. Sure.
is it set up to pass or is it like is it how hard is it?
Well, so it's a tough course, mate. Yeah. The British infantry training at ITC Catterick is yeah, it's 26 weeks, and the first 4 weeks you don't even get your beret. You don't earn that until the end of your first phase, and then it's structured for all of the infantry training that you require. So you get field craft, you get all of your fitness. They have a really strong fitness and swimming program as well.
Mhm.
They have a lot of marksmanship, the obstacle courses, and yeah, you get I think 2 weekends home. Once after phase, no, maybe I think it's only one now. I don't know what it is now, but back then it was 1 weekend home, and then you get like a family day where they come up and visit you. And my mom
Yeah.
came up. But yeah, once you get your beret, that's a totally different change because you've passed your
Yeah.
basic training, and yeah, 4 to 8 weeks to get even just your beret to even have the right to wear that. You wear what they call crap hats,
Yeah.
and it's basically a green baseball cap, and they call it a crap hat. The nickname for those, because of the beak, right,
Uh-huh.
is crowbag. There you go, a little bit of British culture.
Yeah.
Yeah, the nicknames are crowbags or crap hats, and then once you get your beret, you're starting to get treated a little bit differently.
Mhm.
A lot of small team tactics in fire teams and sections, right? So
Yeah.
4 men for a fire team, 8 men to a section, and then 3 sections to a platoon with a platoon commander and a platoon sergeant, and led by NCOs. So yeah, man, my my ITC training was a little bit interesting because
Yeah.
I got back squatted for 2 weeks for getting in a fight. Um, yeah, man, I haven't said this name in a long time. His name was Chris Rain. He was returning to join the infantry after serving 5 years in the Royal Engineers. So he was a combat engineer, deployed, was going back through because you can't. It's almost like if you want to change jobs, any other job you can jump right into, go to trade training. For the infantry, you go back to basic training no matter what you've done before.
Oh,
They
that
they
sucks.
yeah, no matter what. So he was joining up for his second time, and we got in a fight in the barracks that he started. And so I got back squatted for 2 weeks. So I ended up graduating with an entirely different company of men and an entirely different platoon because of that. So the guys I started with, I didn't finish with, and we
Uh-huh.
ended up finding each other later on in life and getting some really good
Yeah.
friends. But
Hey, so when you guys are going through this school, and do you already know what battalion you're going to?
yes, yes, yeah, you signed and you've already met them. I remember actually in training, the we had a couple of visitors for some injured guys that were wounded in action, that came out from deployment, and they turned up in their deserts, and they came to visit us for like a career orientation day. So
Mhm.
2 of my instructors were Royal Anglians. So they involve you as much as they can, so you start learning the culture and getting to know everybody. I mean, I was really kind of blown away just how
Yeah.
invested they are into you, right? Joining their battalion, because there is a lot of pride. Um, it was intimidating because One Royal Anglian, the Vikings, are currently one of the most battle hardened fighting units of the British Army,
Right.
and known for it. Lots of news documentaries on my guys, BBC.
Mm-hmm.
Ross Kemp, he did a
Yeah.
BBC, documentary. So we were well known. So there was a lot of standards that you had to meet, not just in your behavior, but also your performance. We always scored well on what's called OPTAG. You guys get
Mhm.
graded, I think, in training operations, pre-operational training, almost the
Right.
same way. And we always performed really well on those battlefield exercises.
Oh,
So,
wow.
yeah.
Yeah, that's actually kinda cool, like, you already know, well, I mean, you said it, like, the county you're in, you have to go over there,
Yeah, you
and
may have
it's
gone to school with these people. There might be sergeants and officers. Officers not so much, because once they get assigned, they can go all over. Um,
right.
my last infantry officer who went through Sandhurst ended up again going back, transferring out, because he was an Apache pilot, and then came down to the ground and served as an officer. That was my last captain. um, Martin Driver, who we'll talk about in a little bit. He went
Yeah.
parachute regiment. He was known as what was known as a non-grad entry. We were serving at the time um, in language school, because they sent a bunch of us grunts to language school.
Oh, wow.
And we spent a year together learning Arabic, and he was doing his non-grad entry program. So we went through Sandhurst for the
Uh-huh.
officers college, and then got his degree later on. And you have to get it within a certain time period to qualify.
Uh-huh.
So he was parachute regiment first, as again a fighting soldier, and then became an officer after that. So there's a lot of opportunities to
Yeah.
find the battalion you want. So
Hey, so how what's the youngest age you can join the military over
six,
there?
16,
Oh, wow.
16,
So
yeah.
you could be serving with, like, a 16, 17-year-old.
Correct. Yeah. That you won't deploy until you're 18. But
Right.
yeah, absolutely. There were guys,
That
when I
is
went to
crazy.
Catterick basic training for the infantry, and those guys, some of those guys had already had, a year's worth of military experience. And I was a cadet from a young age, so I'd had that too, to some level.
Uh-huh.
I knew how to, the uniform standards mostly, and drill and marching, and we did parades with the old guys for the memorial marches through town on Remembrance Day and Veterans Days, and all that good stuff. So there was a lot of guys there that were 16, 17 years old. They'd either done Harrogate. A good friend of mine, Josh Hill, he was one of those kids.
Yeah.
6 years younger than me,
Uh-huh.
in the battalion, but had a deployment behind him, and had already done Harrogate, so was already sharp in the field. Because green skills is ultimately what makes up the British Army, and why they train professional soldiers. And that is
Yeah.
right from the start. That kind of attitude of, you are a professional soldier, that is the attitude you will
Yeah.
have. You will
W
represent this battalion and its history and traditions, and you feel it, and you feel responsible, especially
yeah.
once you get your beret, your tactical recognition flag,
Yeah.
and you actually get a staple belt too, which has got the
Okay.
regimental colours on it. We have shirts tucked in, and arms out, and guns out, and all
Yeah.
that stuff.
What is the green skills? What is that?
Green skills is like your field craft, your small team tactics, pairs fire team maneuver. You're out on the ground, you could administrate your kit and stuff. Green skills is ultimately what we correlate into all the best things that make up a
Uh,
soldier. That's
would you
green
s
skills.
would you call that, like, the basic task that you need
Um, I mean,
to make a
yeah.
soldier? Like, "Hey, you need to know this stuff to be here."
Yes, that, and we have what's called CMAT, which is basically your common military skills.
Right.
So we always kind of round it up, right? You've got to know how to shoot, you've got to be fit, you've got to know how to navigate, because they give that to everybody, right? They
Right.
don't just give it to the officers that will ultimately end up getting you lost in a cow field anyway.
Mhm.
They really want you to be sharp on the ground to know how to get around, right? Because you're only one shot away from a promotion, is the attitude that they instill in you.
Yeah.
And there was many times you get pushed to the front of the pack, and you get um, different assignments throughout. They really want you to develop those leadership skills
Mhm.
early. But yeah, green skills for certainly for the British military. Bear in mind, everywhere we train is just wet, cold, miserable, like muddy. You're constantly in a state of like thermobaric revolution, right? You
Yeah.
get cold and wet, and you work hard to stay warm, to then get to stay dry, to stay alive. Um, but yeah, I mean, they give you all of that in CIC. Because Army basic training is actually only 8 weeks, and that's at Purbright. But for infantry, they give it all the way to one. They want you to be
Oh.
deployable as soon as you get to battalion. And then once you
Oh.
get to battalion, there's special training that they can give you
Yeah.
after that within the battalion, because we have
Oh,
our own Delta company, right? Our own decoy boys, and that's all recce, reconnaissance for you guys, snipers, mortars, um, the incel group. We have our own intelligence cell. We have our own motor transport unit. So each battalion is its own little self-contained. They have special weapons, anti-tanks.
yeah.
They've got their own light vehicles, specific track that they train on. Um, Linguistics, radio operators, which is what I ended up being after all that talk about, no, I want to be infantry. As soon as I got to battalion, they were looking at my scores and they're like, radio operator, first job. So that was my first. That's what got me my first class, my class one infantry guy. I
Yeah.
ended up being a fucking radio operator anyway. So they were like, oh, brilliant! Hey, we need one you. So
Hey, I hate to go back, but I guess I missed this part. But what is the 8 weeks? Excuse me, the 8 weeks of the basic training. What are you guys learning? Like history? That's what y'all are doing there during that time.
no, it's marching. It's close order drill. It's basic firearms. It would be all the 8 week equivalent of what every other job role in the army would do at Purbright. We just do it within hours as phase one to earn our beret.
Oh, okay. All
So,
right. Now I'm
so
tracking. Okay.
yeah, yeah. And phase one has fieldcraft one, so it has your very first kind of like group deployment into the field where they teach you pairs, fire team maneuver. Very, very traditional, what we would call conventional warfare training.
Yeah.
This is, we were still teaching the basics of what would be considered like fighting Russians or invading Germans.
Right.
But
Right.
to go from that to GWOT, where ultimately the warfare had changed so much where your average private soldier wasn't just in a trench, but now kicking doors and, close combat, FIBA, we call it, which is fighting in built up areas, and fish, fighting in someone's house. Um, we were doing
Yeah.
stuff in GWAT that ultimately was reserved only for special forces, which was small user tactics, kicking doors in and throwing grenades and snatching people, intel, photographing, that stuff was happening years ago. But with the wars getting so big, they really developed our base infantry units to be all right, ready to fill in the gaps, and we saw that in Iraq the first time. So
Oh wow. Okay. Okay. So
yeah.
during your infantry school, right, that you're going through, what are they kind of telling you guys over there when you get to your battalions? Like, hey, y'all are gonna go straight to Iraq. You're gonna go to Afghanistan. We're gonna support the Americans doing this or what?
Yeah, at least at that time, all of our instructors had already seen deployment. One of mine, Corporal John Barr, man, he got sent back to teach at the infantry center because he was kind of war emblazoned, I guess would be the best description of it. He was just born to go to war, and he got he got sent to Catterick. He was with um, Johnson Bahari when he got the Victoria Cross in Iraq on Operation Telic, and he would share everything with us, his personal experiences. And what he developed truly in us was the situational awareness that is, training can only give you so much. The other guys, we had a Royal Regiment of Fusiliers. Man, I cannot remember his name for the life of me. We had a Royal Regiment of Fusiliers. We had a poacher. We even had a sergeant from the Gibraltar Regiment, and they were classed as, you know, kind of an offshoot of what is considered a territorial army battalion. So they
Hmm.
attach to other units and deploy as an attaché. and they all had their own operational experiences that they started to tune in the things that you just don't get unless you've been out on the ground. So
Right.
their experiences in Iraq with counterinsurgency was already developing in us on what was going to be expected of us. So that started really early on, and they kept us informed about that. We did IED, small, like vulnerable point training and critical control points, all that stuff that
Yeah.
ultimately they learned out on their operations. They were
Uh-huh.
starting to bring in that syllabus with real life experiences,
Yeah.
videos, training, and
It's
even
intense.
yeah, and even the way we handled weapons. You started to see that change in the development of posture and professional experience, and everybody was just walking, talking, acting, and soldiering just very differently. As the man, what a great time to have instructors. Yeah, and we knew they would give us an idea because we had those instructors with us.
Hmm.
Um, I remember, yeah, Joel, and I don't know whether he wants to get mentioned because he's still on my Facebook, but yeah, his name's Joel, and he was a corporal in my battalion. He had just come back from a deployment, and the guys were still out there. And so he would tell us a lot of his experiences,
Yeah.
and we were scheduled to deploy pretty much on an 18-month rotation.
Oh, damn.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
long.
yeah. But our deployments are a little bit shorter, so every 18 months or so. Or like once every 2 years or so, my unit was deploying. And bear in mind, when I joined the they'd already deployed 3 times in GWOT.
Oh shit.
2002 to Afghanistan, right at the very start when the hunt for Osama bin Laden was gone, and then again in 2005, which was when the Iraq deployment occurred. And that was I mean, Iraq, the differences between Iraq and Afghanistan with indirect fire, mortars, all that. I mean, totally different posture. And then Afghanistan came again, and from '07 to 2009, and that was a pretty rough tour of duty for us. Um, that was by far one of the most challenging times of my life.
Yeah.
From 2010, a year later, we deployed to East Africa for Batuk, the British Army Training Unit in Kenya. Al Shabaab and all that stuff was going on, so lots of operational security and SOPs that would keep us safe there because that's a very
Right.
unforgiving AO. And then they went back again to
Mm.
Afghanistan 2 more times before the end of the war.
Damn. A
Mhm.
very big tempo.
Yeah.
So okay, so so you finish the school of infantry, right? Like you see your mom, or you're happy, emotional, and then you go to the school, right? You go to your unit, right? The battalion.
Yep. Yep.
Um, so I know that you talked about, hey, they'll send you to these certain schools or whatever.
Yep.
So like, I think it's probably I'm just assuming here, maybe like the first week, 2 weeks, they tell you, hey, you're gonna be a radio operator. You're still infantry, but you're a radio operator. Is that how it works or no?
Yep. 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 So, man, I didn't even make it to the fucking barracks before I got caught up with a bunch of uh, Vikings. Because again, they give you train tickets everywhere, right? So you're usually solo, and maybe if you're lucky, when you get to a certain point on the trains, you'll meet up with somebody else, and you look across, and you're like, "Oh, I'm pretty sure." I'm like, "Hey, are you going to the Anglians?" He's like, "Yeah, okay, cool." And then we'll hang out. And there was 2 other dudes that were going at the same time, and I went on the train the day before, so it was on I think a Sunday, and I went to Brookwood Station because they were based at Elizabeth Barracks at the time, and I was getting off the train, and they know you right away, right? You've got 2 big giant black, gear bags, and then you get off the train. You got your day sack on the back, and another your Bergen on the front, and you've got 4 bags, and you're young, you're fresh faced, and away you go. There's a pub between the train station and the little taxi rank in there where you can get like cars to take you to the front of the gate to Elizabeth Barracks, and which is in Purbright. and a couple of drunk Vikings that had just come back off tour. One of them, he's fairly high up in the battalion now, so I'm gonna give him his nickname, but Kenny, and he fucking knows who he is. He saw me and he's like, "Oi, come here." I'm like, "Hello." Now, bear in mind that Purbright is also a big basic military training area for all, and right tucked at the back between Deep Cut and Purbright is Elizabeth Barracks. And he sees me right away and he's like, "Come here." He's like, "Are you a Viking?" I'm like, "Yes, sir." He's like, "Sir, fuck off." He's like, "I work for a fucking living." And he was a corporal at the time. Yeah, Corporal Kenny. So, and he's a stout dude, shaved ginger hair, and just like piercing eyes. I will tell you, I have never been so fucking drunk in my whole life as I had between that gap between the fucking train station at Brookwood to the pub, and then go into battalion for the following morning, because man, we were there for 8 or 9 hours, and all
Uh-huh.
of it. Matty Woolen was there too, and a couple of other guys. I think man, Mark Anderson. Anyway, these Vikings that had just come back off a deployment to Afghanistan picked me up and got me drunk, and
Yeah.
told me, all the stories. There was some emotions. There was a sense of unity and mentorship in that single day, where they included you right away, right?
Right.
And I knew, because I was a little bit older at that point anyway. Once I joined the Anglers, I knew that those guys, when the senior guys are talking, you just know to shut your mouth, right?
Right.
Um, pretty rough tour, that one as well. Because I joined them right. I joined the Anglers right in the middle of that Herrick 6, and was meeting those guys as they were coming back. And so you knew not to run your mouth. Don't talk about your exploits or whatever you'd seen before. Just shut up.
Right.
So they get me back that night, and it's probably about 10:30 or so, and we're all tanked, and they they were carrying bags for me. They didn't fucking just leave you by yourself. There was a really, really like sense of ownership in there. They were like, "All right, you're one of ours."
Yeah, like some
So,
brotherhood.
yeah, go in the barracks, find a bed. The following morning, which is a Monday morning, that's when I was going to meet the regimental sergeant major and the CO of the battalion. And so I go in, and there's three of us there. I am still fucking drunk. Like, there's no way. There's no way I would have driven. So I'm in uniform, and I spent at least an hour earlier getting my shit all squared away. So when I turned up in my regimental uniform to meet with the RSM, that I was going to be in a really good looking order. Did not smell that way at all. So the regimental sergeant major back then, RSM Robinson, and his nickname is Robbo. He ended up commissioning later on, but he was the regimental sergeant major at the time. He's coming down the line and he's meeting three of us, and he gets down to me and he gets really close and he's like,
Hey, what's up? This is Doc hopping on here. Please go ahead and comment, subscribe. This episode is sponsored by Craig Fleming at Fleming's Cleaning. If you're in the San Antonio area, please hit him up for your commercial residential cleaning. Use code word GWOT13. And please check out our socials: TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook. If you have anybody that you'd like to get on the show, please let me know. And with that, let's continue the episode.
"Wait here after." I'm like, "Yes, sir." So he goes back, he kicks the other two out, and he comes up to me, and he's like a couple of inches from my face. And he
Yeah.
goes, "Got off at Brookwood yesterday, did you?" I was like, "Yes, sir, I did." He's like, "Meet a couple of Vikings, did you?" I was like, "Yes, sir, I did." He's like, "Good, welcome to the battalion. Fuck off." And he kicks me out. And I'll never forget that. I'll never forget that. And that was my meeting. So they pretty much clear you that day to get settled in. They attach you to a mentor, and I had some really good ones. Again, these guys were fresh back from a deployment, so they're extremely knowledgeable, professional, but they were just private soldiers. And these guys took me around the battalion, kind of showed me where to go, showed me where the RQMS is, which is like our regimental quartermasters, where the company, the CQMS was, showed me where to report every day, showed me, and they basically get attached to you for the first couple of weeks to get you assigned. That first week is just orientation, right? You do fitness every day, check out weapons for cleaning, and then ultimately your first assignment in any battalion is your base role is a rifleman. That is what you are. You're an assaulter, right? So they you should at least be at that point trained on the personal role radio, your rifle, your gear, your kit equipment, and all the green skills you need to immediately integrate into your platoon.
Right.
I got assigned to 6th platoon, which were again a very well-known platoon, even in the battalion for a well-known battalion, and their nickname is the Mighty VI, 6th platoon, and
Yeah.
that's the only military tattoo I've got, mate. Is the VI. That's
Yeah.
you know. So yeah, 6th platoon, 1 Royal Anglian, B company, B Suffolk company, which was where the regimental link came from my great uncle who served in World War One.
Yeah. So it's regiment, right?
Yep.
A battalion,
Yep.
and then company.
Yep.
Okay, so it's everything's pretty the same
Every
as us.
very similar
Yeah.
structure in terms of
So
yeah.
how would how does the rank structure work, right? Are you like what is it
Entirely
compared to
differently. Entirely differently.
right?
Um even
Like your
even with
platoon, let's just stick with the platoon. Like how
sure.
does that work out?
Yeah, sure. So at the very top of the platoon, you get an officer,
Right.
and mine was Martin Driver. He was my very first officer for the Mighty VI, and he was the one that had come from the parachute regiment and then joined us as an officer through Sandhurst. So he's the platoon commander.
Yeah.
Right next to the platoon commander is a sergeant, and that's usually anywhere from 6 to 10 years.
Oh wow.
Yeah, you get. So here's the saying I always say to American troops is the British Army gets nothing for free. So down from there, you have a section which is 10 to 12 men. And then that section is led by a corporal,
Mhm.
which is usually 4 to 8 years.
Yeah.
And then down from there, you have lance corporals who control the fire team because you have a Charlie fire team and a Delta fire team.
Mhm.
And then they're the fire teams of 4 to 6, depending on ground deployment and structure. And then you have special weapons attached after that, which is usually a sniper, number 1 or number 2, a special weapons mortar fire controller, or engineer maybe, linguist. Usually gets,
Oh,
and then that's usually the structure, and it can change interchangeably.
yeah. So
Um,
you being the radio guy, I assume you're probably attached to the commander, the platoon commander's hip.
Yep, or the sergeant. Yep.
Yeah.
Oftentimes, if there's some kind of special element that they're using for a section, like for example, they're doing an ambush or something else, you might get coordinated around.
Mhm.
That was pretty much week 2. They were like, "Hey, we're going to have a signals cadre." So the cadres are like special little courses that you go on to specialize in certain areas.
Yeah.
And I met with my oh man, Oh man, yeah, Jim. God bless him. So my company sergeant major at the time, he was looking at my scores and they were pegging me pretty quickly to like, okay, we're going to fill in some roles where some things are missing, because usually after a deployment, everyone will shuffle off into different opportunities, and it's pretty amazing some of the opportunities that you get in the British Army, just if you're a high performer, if you're disciplined, if you're a professional, if you have a really good military standards and bearing, you get a lot of opportunities. And that was my first one, was the signals cadre. And yeah, man, Jimmy Nails, God bless him. He was leading that with another gentleman, and
Yeah.
yeah, Jimmy was one of my first mentors in the Royal Anglian Regiment, and um, back then we were still doing like cryptology, so we had Batco and fucking radio screen. Man, I have one somewhere, an old Batco sheet,
Yeah.
but they had us for that first week or so for you to get qualified to get your private, your class one private. It'd be equivalent to you guys PFC. It wasn't time in station. You had to get qualifications. So we did ground spikes, and we're learning about, you know, HF and VHF radio. They had Harris radios and digital comms and Bowman and all sorts of stuff to give us experience with. We ended up doing a ground spike right outside the camp and talking to Antarctica, because you could bounce them off the atmosphere like radio waves. That, you know, and I thought I was going to hate it. I wasn't. It was pretty cool.
It sounds pretty cool.
Yep. So
so this is like roughly what, 2000, maybe what, 7, 8,
2007.
2007.
Yep.
Okay, so you do your first 2 weeks, you get the weapons, you know, learning the area, and then I'm just trying to recap here.
Sure.
And then they kind of tell you get assigned to the corporal, right? That's in charge of you guys. And then you got high scores, right? So they're like, hey, we're gonna ping you for the radio guy.
That's, man. Yeah. Then, I was hoping to get infantry barb test, but that's not what happened. I think it was, it was pretty damn high. I had my list of jobs that they offered me was like 3 pages long.
Right. So how do they know when you guys are gonna go to the Middle East?
We usually get notified by battalion orders.
Okay, so is that already projected or no?
Yes, yeah, they predicted that out. So in 2007, they were already talking about the next tour because, you know, they performed so well in Afghanistan, that we were told to expect to deploy again in 2009, in the summer of 2009, and the first on the board was Iraq. That was what we were told. So I spent the entirety, because again, they were doing these weird experiments where they were sending a bunch of private grunts, soldiers, to go do other experiments because they didn't want to attach from outside for military intelligence guys that didn't have the combat training, because throughout the global war on terror, combat was getting tighter and tighter and tighter. And you know, entries into buildings, dynamic entries, like the use of I-star assets, aircraft, forward air control, like it's crazy just how developed military units became and the expectation. So what they wanted, instead of attaching an outside interpreter, that ultimately was extremely dangerous and you never knew who the fuck you were getting, they were like, hey, we want to send you off to go do an MLAT test, which is a modern languages aptitude test. And I scored like an 80% retention rate on languages. Never done languages before in my life other than French in school, and I didn't really pay attention because my teacher was kind of fugly. But you know, when Mrs. Dupuis at the Glebe School, when she was doing French, I paid attention because, you know, all right. But so they ended up sending me, Captain Driver, Shane, and a couple of other guys. I have the book somewhere, to the DSL, which was the Defense School of Languages. That was my second year in, and they sent me away for a whole year on a posting to go and learn Iraqi Arabic, very specifically the Iraqi dialect of Arabic.
Yeah, man, that's pretty cool how they do they do it, because like, hey, you guys finished summer of 2007, you're gonna get pinged 2009, so you have like 18 months of like, hey,
Correct.
we gotta get back up to speed where we are, right? Because people leave and stuff like that, and that's cool. I mean, I know the Army kind of does it, but they do a lot of like, man, freaking field problems. That's the best way I can explain it. Like, man, you're always in the field, dude. Like, oh, we gotta do 2 weeks platoon or a month long platoon, and I'm just like, damn, man. Like, nobody's gonna go to, like, I know we had a language guy for Afghanistan, but I don't even think he remembered the fucking language, to be honest, dude.
Oh, yeah. Ani درست اللغة العربية ويا جيش البريطاني بالبeconsfield. Yeah, so I still got some, you know, and like operational stuff too. It's freaky, right? Isn't that weird? Isn't that weird to hear it? Well, ultimately it was fucking useless, because instead of going to Iraq, we redeployed to Afghanistan. So it's fucking useless.
Yeah. Hey, so do y'all have like do they only go based off y'all's last deployment that you guys are good, or is there like a training or something before y'all hey, you're certified to go?
So there is a pre-operational assessment called TESX. where they pit us and other battalions against each other, and they have, computers and monitors, and we're all wearing GPS tags and all the laser shit, and they're watching the whole battlefield kind of go on. We didn't get that until 2009. So I did my full year away, and I have to tell you about the DSL, the Defense School, because I spent a year there, and they had U.S. Coast Guard, SAS, Navy, um, Army, Air Force, Jordanian pilots in this tiny
Yeah.
little town. And we'll get into that, but once you're leading up to your next deployment, you are you're ultimately subjected to a whole battery of testing and training where everybody's getting up to speed. We have a whole lot of like those legacy instructors come in. So a lot of our instructors were from tier one SF. They were either SBS, SAS. I remember in pre-op tag training, pre-operational training, we had Andy McNabb come in and talk about escape and evasion, capture. We have our own protocol for that, for the green, amber, red system. He talked to us on that. We attended a whole bunch of seminars, physical training. I deployed out with 5-1 military intelligence to do their SEER course. Your guys, we call it E&E, which is the escape and evasion. And I was doing interpreting for that too, for SF guys that were getting tested. Like, I had so many cool opportunities that I don't think, unless we talk for like 5 hours, like getting everything. But I got to see a whole lot because of the diversity and just how small the military is. Those opportunities are a lot more because
Right.
we don't want to get out with the with the big brother Americans and not be able to perform and be there for you guys. So I got to see, man, a lot of really weird and wild, wonderful stuff. But they
So
changed us last minute because we were initially
yeah.
I did a whole year of training for Iraqi dialect Arabic only to get reassigned to Afghanistan to fill in a battlefield need, and it was because
Oh.
Obama had basically. Do you remember the movie War Machine with Brad Pitt, where he's talking about like we're going to get boots off the ground in Afghanistan, and one of the first things they did is ask for more men,
Uh-huh.
like 10,000. All right, you want us to get out of Afghanistan? I need 10,000 more men.
Yeah,
that
right,
that
right.
whole period was that kinetic period of 2009 to 2010. They were like, we need more, and you guys have to step up to give us more also. So
Okay.
that's why it changed. And
Are you
in
not
it,
going with you're not going with your platoon or company?
no, we are, yeah, but
Oh,
we
okay.
actually, our company, B company, got split up into two,
Mhm.
and we created two like super companies, A company and C company. B company, being the smallest, split their three platoons up with the other guys, and we
Mhm.
were being assigned to a battle group being led by the Grenadier Guards. So it was the Grenadier Guards battle group, 12 Mechanized Brigade, because we were mechanized infantry SLE at the time, and then we switched because of
Yeah.
into a light infantry role, again for small team tactics, and they redeveloped us before that tour of duty because Iraq is, I mean, is grossly different than Afghanistan, and so when we reassigned, we started training with our A and C company boys, and my platoon got attached to C company,
Oh, okay.
but
Dude,
we were
so
still six platoon.
yeah, okay, okay. Are so I know it's probably a rapid change, right? You know, the machine, I call it the machine, the
It
overall
is a
military.
fucking machine. That's the best
They
way to
just keep
describe it.
going, right? So the
Yep.
machine doesn't tell you, hey, they're not going to give you time to plan. You know, they're going to be like, hey, you're going to go out there and do it no matter what, right?
Yep.
So
Yep.
what is like your platoons like? Did you have any platoon people of rank that have been to Afghanistan already that they knew where y'all were going to go, or everything's been in
Ninety
Iraq?
percent. Yeah, 90% of the Royal Anglian Regiment was had seen one or two deployments. Like this was a battle hardened
Right.
unit, and um, nothing surprised them. They were
Yeah.
just fucking ready. You know, we had guys knowing that we were going to deploy that left their regiment and came to us. One of them was my corporal, Joe Warren Wazza, who, man, we got real fucking close over the
Mhm.
last 20 years. Um, 15 or so, 20 years, whatever. We're really close even today. Like I spoke to him yesterday. That's how bonded we are. And
Yeah.
he came from another regiment and joined us knowing that we were going to deploy.
Hmm.
Like, if you're going to deploy, um, you've got just, I mean, all the commando guys, the para guys, PWRRs, guys saw a lot of stuff in Iraq. Um, there was just some really fucking good fighting units out there.
Right.
And the Vikings were one of them. So
Right.
I knew that, like, that is who I am going with. I am
Uh-huh.
going with these guys. And
Yeah.
so yeah, we start building up our military syllabus first, right? We do everybody, because the rank structure in our section is entirely different, right? Everybody trains to be a team medic. Everyone gets their medic status, right?
That's
Which is
good.
what I'm saying. And then within the platoon, you will have a platoon medic, which is usually like, paramedic level stuff, giving IVs and all that. We had Ricky Hanley and Martin Jakes, who were two fantastic medics with their big Medbergen, and those guys are trained to a higher level of care.
Hmm.
Many of those guys end up going off once they leave the infantry battalions after many years of service, going to serve with the Royal Army Medical Corps, right, the RAMC. They are that good. One of my other buddies, Ben Berry, he ended up becoming a paramedic for the the Royal Ambulance Service. Um, so we have that, and then we have our gunners, which are light machine gunners. Back then, we had
Hmm.
mini-me's in the paratrooper configuration, the shorties. So the really short barrels on them. We have two of those assigned, and then we have a GPMG gunner, which is
Hmm.
our, the general purpose machine gun. You guys call it the 240 Bravo. Every rifleman gets trained on all of these,
Right.
bar none, so we can all pick each other. I actually ended up not deploying as a radio operator, but as I was a grenadier. So I had the UGL and breaching, all that good stuff, and grenades, a
Oh,
whole
that's cool.
plethora of grenades. That was going to be my job. Um, so yeah, in that also, then we start training with our D company boys too. So we start getting attaches. We had a grenadier guardsman, which was the battle group that we were answering to, giving operational missions and stuff like that out on the ground. We had a mortar fire controller called John Goggins. He was a corporal that came to us. He was a MFC guy. He got shot and survived. Called in his own 9-liner. What a fucking legend.
Yeah, for real.
Yep. That was January 3rd. That was my hardest day of my whole life. We'll dig into that later, but yeah, John Goggins was from the Grenadier Guards, but attached to our platoon. So we had some I-Star assets. Sergeant Ryan Vickery, what a legend. He was a jungle warfare instructor, teaching fast roping and helicopter landings in the jungle and deployments, and was just, again, a really good, solid professional green soldier. And he had just the temperament of that senior leader that just, man, you couldn't ask for better. So we had a really good mix. I had Dan Monks, who's this Spartan warrior, youngster, mental, early 20s that just, again, seen a deployment, super fit, really squared away, very aggressive tactics. But we had a really great leadership group of very, very battle hardened dudes. Yeah, 90% of them had seen
Right.
warfare. Yeah.
Hey, so this 2009 deployment, are you guys going to Helmand?
Yes,
Okay,
yes, we
cool.
were. Yeah,
So,
the most southern point of Helmand. We were the triangle point. Marja was right here. Kushal Calais was just north of it. I actually have a map of it if you want to see it. Um, so Helmand Province, the battle map here. This is Helmand. Fob C Company was down south of Nadi Ali, and then we were west of Lashkar, and that's Kushar Calais. That was the village we were going to. So
uh-huh.
we were to be aligned to Fob Parang, which means knife, and then we had Ham and Silab on a triangle just to the east and west of us. And
Yeah.
Silab ended up becoming a really big American form-up point, a really big forward outpost for you guys. We call them FOBs, which is
Yeah.
fighting operating base. A FOB is different than a cop for you. Our FOBs are your cops. They're the same
Oh,
thing.
okay.
So yeah, I was at FOB Parang was where we were going to go, and we were told that it was spicy. So the battalion of the rifles was there, and they're an old LI group, part of the old Royal Green Jackets, and they're Green Berets, and we were taking over the base from them, and they had already lost a lot of guys, and we knew it was kinetic. We knew it had been a busy summer for them, so we for that, whenever we transition, we do it by 30 days, where we instill our guys. So some of our guys goes out. Usually the fire team commanders and the commanders group will go out 30 days prior to overlap in that base to have orientation to the ground, to talk about some of the key people, the key elements that we're going to be dealing with out there.
Yeah.
Some of the locals, intel assets, because we were SLE at the time, which is spearhead lead element. So we were a flashpoint, 18 hours notice to move battalion at the time.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
So are you guys on this this fob? Is it it's the super company, right? That's there?
We're split. So the
Okay.
super company is split into three: Silab, Ham, and Parang.
Oh, okay. So how
Mhm.
many people are on this? Like, is it just your platoon, or is
We
there
had
a couple
38
platoons?
men in there, and we had our base like 30 odd men. I have actually the whole list of, so I can use. I brought it out so I could recall.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
'Cause I knew these questions would company, so these questions were coming. So that's Norfolk, and then C Company here. Here we go. All right, so C Essex Company, 6 platoon. How many we got here? About 30 odd men, and
Okay.
then that was our base platoon.
Yeah.
And within our 30 odd men, we had Witchcraft 47. That's our
Uh,
special weapons, snipers, mortars, radio operators,
and that's
medics,
in the
like
platoon.
it with it attached. And then we
Oh,
had
okay.
an engineer group that would give us
Yep.
facilities. And then every now and again, we'd get some really weird spook visitors that would come and get orientation, and they would do their own ops out
Yeah.
from the base too.
Okay. So, um, you guys aren't working with the A&A or nothing, are you?
We had a contingent, yeah. We had one SFSG guy, which was a Special Forces Support Group. He was from the Parachute Regiment. He had his own. It wasn't A&A. It was a Tiger team. So it was the A&A Special Forces unit.
Oh, okay.
They were embedded with us. Later in that tour, we got ANCOP, which is the Afghan National Civil Order Police,
Yeah.
and we
Those
were
dudes are
training.
wild.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, because there's a benefit and a deficit to both, right? Like if they
Yeah.
recruit externally, you get less corruption. They come into your area, but then they have no fucking attachment to the tribes that are in the area, so they're
Right.
brutal to each other. Or you recruit locally and they get on fine with the locals, but they're more likely to be fucking corrupted by the Taliban.
Yeah.
Because that year, the regimental sergeant major of the Grenadier Guards was murdered by an A&A soldier
Oh, fuck. That's
after a
wild.
patrol. Yeah, yeah,
What?
man. I know we're just starting to get into this. I haven't talked about this stuff in a long
Yeah.
time.
No, no, we'll definitely so okay, so you're on this deployment in what is
Yeah.
it, summer of '09? Probably
Yep.
June?
Well, so September. So this
Oh,
was
okay, there the
we
end
had
of
that
summer.
transit. Yeah. So this was September
Okay. And
into
what
April
so
next year.
kind of tell me what's going on here, man. Like you got you're still what are you like you said you class
Just a grunt, mate. Yep.
yeah, yeah,
Yep. Just a
grenadier,
grunt.
right?
Yep.
Grenadier.
Yep.
And so you guys going out with your sections
Yep.
or so you guys are patrolling, doing like presence and doing stuff
Yeah.
like that,
Yeah.
fighting
We call them.
Taliban people.
Yep. We call them ground dominance patrols. And so our very first patrol, because we land at night. So we're in Camp Bastion for a 2 week. As soon as we get in country, we go from Bryce Norton, and then you land in Kandahar. From Kandahar, you go to Camp Bastion, which is the big form up base, and they were on like Bastion 6 or 7 by that time. I mean, it was fucking enormous. On Google Earth, the whole thing was a big portion of the desert that was blurred out.
Yeah.
It's now since been returned to the Afghans. We get out on the ground and we spend 2 weeks of orientation training, and it also helps to acclimatize too, because it takes about 2 weeks for the altitude for you to get used to it.
For sure.
So if you've ever been to
And it's hot.
it's fucking hot, man. And if you've ever been to Camp Bastion, it's a dust bowl. Everything is churned up, so it's like a powder, really thin powder. So we're out there for 2 weeks of transition training, for more key skills, more education on IEDs, indirect fire, um, the local intel, truly trends, what we're seeing. And we were warned before we were going out to Fob Parang that there were a couple of Chechen sniper teams that were operating in that area, hired from external sources. Because you've got different, they back then we used tiers of what the Taliban were, right? You had $10 Taliban, right? You ever heard that?
Yeah, I know what
Yeah.
you mean.
Yeah, $10 Taliban, which were the local guys that were just given, here's a fucking soft vest and here's an AK, here's a magazine. Every now and again, just take pot shots and see what they do, right? Because they're constantly assessing you as they're assessing us. So we have 2 weeks of that. Then we actually fly out at night from Bastion on a Chinook. We dump out on the Chinook. We get into the base, and like that first week is just orienting to the base, right? We've got 4 sangers, we've got a little old farm hut, which is a mud compound, right? We've got 1 generator that is also hooked up to the radio, which is also hooked up to, no bullshit, a PlayStation. We had a PS3 out there, so that was fortunate. We had 1 sat phone, we had a TextLink laptop, we had a little operations room, and then we had the tents that got blown down like 6 or 7 times by helicopters.
And
But
I assume you guys have like the giant Sandhescos surrounding you guys, right?
yes, yep, and they couldn't have built enough of them because ultimately we had a HLS right in the middle of the fob, and you couldn't build enough HESCO to keep the fucking tents from blowing down. Like, it doesn't matter what you did, and especially if the helicopters had an underslung load, because they had tons and tons of gear. If you had an underslung load, the fucking the rotor wash would just spool up inside of the compounds with the HESCO and would just fucking shred our tents.
Yeah.
6 or 7 times we built them fucking things.
Right. Hey, how long is this deployment?
This one here is just over 6 months.
Okay. So
Yep.
so you're going out on patrols.
Yep.
When is it do you
2.
realize, like, damn, I'm in a war zone, and is this what you wanted?
Yeah, man. Yeah. Fuck them, man. After 9/11, yeah, we had a lot of retribution. We were all pretty vengeful.
Right.
You know, we'd had the 7/7 bombings in England, where a bunch of fundamentalists that were British citizens too went away to Afghan training camps and Pakistani training camps, came back and then bombed the subway and local transport and killed fucking dozens of people. So we were pretty vengeful, but we were aggressive. And like I said, 90% have already seen this shit before, and then for the rest of us, we were just fucking ready to go. And actually, it was bear in mind that this was my buddy's 2nd tour, and he had already been blown up in Afghanistan and thrown from a vehicle.
Yeah.
We'll get into this, but he got blown up in our tour, and then his next tour he got shot. So he, in the US, he would have been an equivalent of a 3 Purple Heart recipient, and he still got out on his own terms, on full medical, and is still doing well today. But he was an aggressive commander, but he was smart about it too. Like, he was very strategic. So our very first patrol that we went out, he's like, all right, we're going to fire team maneuver and we're going to bound on this target and shut him down. Very first shot I fired in anger was an underslung grenade, and it was like 420 meters, and I got a machine gun pit right across the end of the berm.
Yeah.
By the time we got there in right at the beginning of October, most of the poppy fields were gone, and it was plowed field. So there was nowhere you could go. You couldn't run anywhere. And as you know, these guys are fucking ghosts. They just circle around you, and
Yeah.
they shoot and scoot, right?
Yeah,
So
the damn motorcycles, man. They're quick on those things, dude.
yep, yep, yeah. There's also their medivacs. There's also their supply line. Like, I mean, we
Yeah.
fucking lit them up, man, and and we bound on them. We would close them in to 100 meters or less, very
Yeah.
specifically to pin them in, because we
Yeah.
knew their incoming fire was not accurate. So we started bounding on them, and we started racking up enemy casualties really, really quickly.
Yeah. They
And
got smart with that though, because I remember on my deployment, they were bounding on some guys, and then they would like lead them to an IED spot, and then
yep,
they would
yep.
go. They got smart with it.
Yeah, well, we avoided all roads, so we would always cut zigzag shapes through plowed fields, which
Uh-huh.
the locals were using and replowing. So we knew it was good because they were using equipment to constantly. So these plowed fields, while there wasn't, we figured the risk factor for the roads, because we did have a massive ID issue in town, all the way up until the fucking 5-6 months later, where we were still getting IEDs going off.
Yeah.
And we had a large IRG group move where we would just avoid them, and then pretty much if we could keep eyes on it, we knew it was good. If we couldn't
Yeah.
keep eyes on it, we presumed it was. And it's mark and avoid, because
Yeah.
we would mark and avoid those when we found them.
Yeah.
um
Hey, so you're just launching the MGL, huh?
yep, yep. UGL, every man, we had those. We had GMG machine guns. We had
Yeah.
we bolstered that far because we were getting attacked every morning and every night, sunrise and
Yeah.
sunset. As soon as
Damn.
prayers were done, we were getting engaged on that base and we were jumping
Yeah.
up walls. And 50 cals on Sanger 4. On Sanger 1, we had a GMG. We had two GPMGs for 2 and 3.
Mhm.
We were pretty heavily armed. We had a period where we weren't getting supply because the helos wouldn't come in because they were taking rounds.
Yeah.
Yeah, one helo took 38 rounds to the fuselage and just
Shit.
so they stopped coming. And they were like, the only way for us to get supplies to you, this was later in the tour, right in about January, February time. They were like, the only way for us to get to you is in December. They planned a large IRG, which is an individual road group move. And it
Yeah.
was led by Americans with the Thor call sign, the big smasher thing that sets off IEDs.
Right. Right.
It was a giant convoy of armored vehicles that was coming through our town, right through the center, to clear that road. And they were going to change it from dirt to metal. They were going to pave that road to create a supply line.
Yeah.
And that was an operation in December that ultimately became our like Black Hawk Down equivalent. It was a fucking horrible 4-day operation.
Okay. So I assume they came from from a huge area, and then that's how they supplied you, right?
Yeah, Bastion, Camp
Yeah.
Bastion. So it started with helos, then the helos started taking rounds, and then they stopped bringing in the helos, and they started they would hand pack food in. The other C Company guys from Fob Ham, they had a bit of a safer supply line. Those guys would fucking walk Bergens full of food and rations and water to us. They would patrol it and then give it to us super early in the morning and go back before the sun was up. Like those, it was really, really rough. We got to less than down to like a half pallet of water, just because they couldn't bring in helos to
Yeah.
give us food. Pho Parang was fucking spicy.
Yeah. Damn, that's wild, dude.
Yeah,
And you know what's crazy? They decided to do that movement. Like, okay, so you say 6-month tour, that's already like almost at the end of it. Like,
yeah. It was
damn.
already halfway through when they
Right.
realized, because we went down from 34 men down to 19. Yeah,
Uh-huh. Dang.
yeah.
So
One is
you lost that many, or
Yeah,
they got
yeah,
injured in combat, or
wounded and killed. Yep.
oh
Two
my God,
KIA, and
dude.
the rest were wounded in action. And um, like our rotation, we were like 4 hours on, 45 minutes off at some point, especially during that IRG move. I got, I think, 45 minutes sleep for, a day for 3 days straight.
Yeah. How
And
did
that,
they
yeah.
since the birds were taking rounds and stuff, how would they medevac, or would y'all do Casevac or what?
Now that's different. So MERT teams, and we actually had assigned to us a unit, a very famous American unit called Pedro, and it was Pedro 15, and that was two AH-60 helicopters with PJs that were
Hmm.
assigned to our platoon, and so they constantly had a two-team rotation of one spooled up, ready to go at Bastion.
Okay.
Yeah, it was different for supplies versus different for MERTS, which is a medical emergency response team. That's our Royal Air Force equivalent of you guys' Pedro. And then
Yeah,
we have Pedro. Man, I will fucking tell you, those pilots are a different breed because if you pop smoke and you need a fucking casualty pickup, they're coming
yeah,
no matter what. And one of the helos that ended up picking up our casualties that ended up taking rounds, and I think the pilot got shot in the leg and still landed back at Bastion. Like that was an entirely different breed of helo. For general supply, they couldn't risk it for fucking snacks that they could essentially walk in. But supplies got pretty light
yeah,
during that period. But for mercs, for medevacs and pickup, if you pop smoke, they're fucking landing no matter what.
yeah,
And we regularly got in firefights with those guys on the ground when they jump out, come collect your casualties, and then whisk you off. Miniguns overhead, just fucking spraying brass everywhere. Like
yeah, for
it
sure.
was pretty gnarly. I have nothing but absolute love and respect for the PJs and for the Royal Air Force mercs that came to pick us up, because there was a couple of times that it was still active on the ground, and we could, we were still in the firefight. We were still winning the firefight.
Yeah,
Um, yeah.
yeah, man. So okay, so you do the 6 month tour. I mean, you lose a lot of guys, a lot of wounded in action, and you did what you wanted to do, man. You freaking went to war. And it sucks that I say it like that, but I mean, war is not a pretty place to go. You know.
Yeah. In the UK, we have a tradition called a hollow square,
Huh.
where we all form up ranks in a square, but we leave one side empty for the fallen.
Okay.
And we had two of those within um, less than 30 days of each other
Right. Um.
for
So
our guys.
yeah, how do y'all when you guys how do when you get done with this deployment, is there like a reintegration period? Like, hey man, are you messed up? Like, or not? Like, you know what I mean? Like, do you need some help? Do you
Um,
need to like do you need psychology help or anything like that?
so right after the tour, we get shipped to Cyprus, and we get reunification with our wounded in action guys. They're waiting for
Okay.
us in Cyprus, and it's 2 days of adventure sports, and it's supposed to be a two-can rule where we can drink two beers because we
Okay.
haven't been used to alcohol, right? And we've been patrolling, so body armor, clothing, rations, you just drain weight, so we all look like we've been diagnosed with terminal illness.
Yeah.
We come back, we go to Cyprus, and we get absolutely smashed because there's some guys that give up their beers because they don't drink. Um, yeah, yeah. So it's called a decompression, and it's every unit that comes out off the ground has that. And then when we get back to battalion, they kept us in off-site billets, so they kept us separated for us to kind of before we got in, because they were doing a whole bunch of refurbishment of the barracks and things like that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So we watched movies, went out in the town, and kept an eye on each other. I would say it was more peer based. It was there. We had family officers and things like that, and medical stuff. But
Yeah.
back then, we were all still deeply afraid of talking about PTSD. Morning, wife. Sorry.
No, you're
Um,
good.
we were still really cautious about talking about PTSD. Very specifically, like saying you're not okay. It still was not there. It's better now, right? Uh,
Right.
Especially with some of the really famous soft guys talking about it on podcasts, and Sean Ryan and Jay Cal and all those guys. It changed the culture of sharing those experiences out. Like that's something that's changed, and certainly now, with what I do now for a living, we're a lot more open about that.
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so what happened in I'm looking at your little question thing that you sent me. Did you end up going back or was it just that was the only tour you did?
No, so we had a break in March. I took the last leave of the year, so we have a split in the middle for R&R.
Uh-huh.
So I had just under 2 weeks at home, and then went back again in March to
Damn.
to round it up. Yeah. So
Same
um,
spot?
yep, same spot, same
Uh,
AO. We had expanded a little bit. We had a secondary, like, little miniature fob area.
yeah.
Um, called the Green 5 base station, which was the center crossroads of the village. and there was an ANCOP station in the middle that we were mentoring and training. So we went into more of a MITS role, but we were still
Yeah.
going out and snatching locals off the
Yeah.
street and coming eye to eye with
Yeah.
some really nasty dudes.
When
But we
you
were more responsible for the other units of that in MITS. Yeah.
Yeah, so I know initially we talked about when you get into the army, you kind of have like a 20, I think 20 year, 22 year, right? Like you're in
Yep.
it.
Yep. Yep.
And after that first tour, were you like, damn, I can keep doing this? Or you're like, damn, this sucks. Like I
Yeah, it
can't.
was amazing, man. I mean, I was pitched to go off to the leadership course. We have the junior section commanders battle course that they were kind of fixing me for.
Yeah.
And then I was having a really good year after that deployment. I was teaching CQB and teaching a lot of close unarmed combat as well. I developed a training course for that with AFC, so doing risk assessments and training with the PT guys and
Yeah.
fighting, fist fighting, grappling, jujitsu.
Right.
Like it was amazing, and
Yeah.
my platoon commander was really interested in that. And then Major Wolf, the platoon commander, he was big into martial arts. And prior to IC of the company, also George Sealcoon, he was into Kali Silat. So he wanted us to train. So I spent that whole year of 2010 really developing that. And throughout the summer period of that year, my son ended up, he had both his legs broken in an accident and was wheelchair bound.
Okay.
They sent me back for, you guys call it recruiter assistance.
Hmm.
I went back to Peterborough and helped for the 6 weeks over summertime while he was in hospital there as a recruiter. So I got to do that
Oh,
too.
that's good.
And then in 2011, we were still getting an opportunity to go abroad. So we went to East Africa, trained with the Kenyan troops, counterinsurgency training out there because they were dealing with the Somalis and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
yeah, I still got, I was still having a lot of fun. Um,
Was that second deployment as kinetic as the first one?
nowhere near, nowhere near. It
So
died
like
right down. Yeah,
really, I
yeah.
wonder what do you think it's because of the more structures that were around you can kind of
The honest
absorb.
answer would be the presence of Americans and the massive amount of troops you guys sent out because
Uh-huh.
we didn't get a whole lot of I-Star asset usage. I tell you what, we did have in place of aircraft for deployments for dropping ordnances. We had Reaper drones, Green Eyes. We had a
Yeah.
lot of that, and those guys were always out with us. So it's one or the other. You can either deploy aircraft or you can deploy IDF. You can't
Yeah.
do both. And the IDF was getting nixed because it was changing to the Hearts and Minds.
Yeah.
So instead of having a lot of air cover for that second tour, we took our own rockets, and our nickname was Rocket Troop.
Oh,
So
cool.
we were all carrying fucking LASMs and 66s, javelins. I mean, we were fucking sending them things like SpaceX
Yeah.
rockets. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they get scared of that stuff, dude. Like just as I mean, I was terrified when they would mortar us. They would fucking run for the hills when we would shoot shit like that too.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um,
Um,
uh,
we didn't get a whole lot of IDF, which was nice because it was pretty much like of the 220 odd firefights and contacts that we had as a platoon. I think for the most part, they were pretty much small arms fire, like
mhm.
small team units on there. It was only when the Chechen sniper teams, Hunter and Champion, moved into the area that we got, man, yeah, yeah, he tagged some folk.
Right. Hey, before we move on too much, before like we talk about
Yeah, you good,
your
man.
transitioning and stuff, what was that? Can you tell about that story when that your regimental sergeant major got murdered?
So it wasn't our regimental sergeant, it was the battalion regimental
Oh,
sergeant
okay.
major. Yeah, that was the Grenadier Guards. So um, in Lashkar area, they were developing a new kind of inner rim security forces, right? The ANP, the Afghan National Police, were renowned for being corrupt. So our battalion leaders and our brigade leaders for the Royal Anglian Regiment and the Grenadier Guards, they were training a new site for ANCOP, which is in between the ANP and the ANA as the Afghan National Civil Order Police. We were in a direct MITS role. So MITS is military integrated training teams. We were in a direct role with them. So we were procuring them and hiring from outside of those tribal areas, hoping that it would make a difference I heard stories where they were selling American weapons, Smith and Wesson SD9 VEs, to local ANP, who were then selling them to the Taliban, and they were just like, right, we've got to fucking stop this. Like,
Right.
the ANA are so inconsistent. Sometimes you'd get really good ones, and then other times you get really shaky ones. This
Absolutely.
this particular one was a ANCOP or an ANA member. I can't remember which one it is. It was not AMP. They'd gone out on patrol. They came back in, and as the guys were sat down and they were making literally a cup of tea, he turned his AK on him and gunned down the regimental sergeant major of the Grenadier Guards.
Damn, what a piece of shit, man.
Yeah, and then he dumped his stuff off, walked out, and got shot by Taliban. So it cost him his life anyway. But I mean, that was the kind of risk, right? You always had at the back of your mind these LECs, these locally employed civilians, were going to ultimately turn on you.
Yeah.
I mean, fuck. When we were in Green 5, and this is when I went back. This is um, March. Upmarch Direct was fully ongoing. We had a Tiger team in our base because we would rotate 3 to 4 days from Green 5 back to Brang, which was only like a quarter mile away. We'd be in the center of town, and the locals, like, I mean, they were getting fired all the time for drug use, opiate use, marijuana use, and then they were stealing from each other. But then for my birthday in March, they fucking cooked me a meal and got like toenail bread and killed a goat right in front of me and
Right.
gave me a shemag. Like, some of them really gave a shit.
Yeah.
Same with the interpreters. We had a really, really good one. I won't say his name because he might still be out there, and I don't want him to get shot. He was amazing. He loved rap music and had a family and kids, and he was a young guy and
Yeah.
looked like a Hollywood star. And then we had a shit one. I'll say his name, Hussein. Fuck that guy. He was stealing from us and failing to report Taliban. It was really bad, and he was a fucking
Yeah.
too. Fuck that guy. But the other guy, Rafi, man, like, yeah, I won't say his last name, but yeah, Rafi was a good dude, man.
Yeah. No, I mean, I had some good experiences with some ANA and then some Terps too. Not all of them are bad, but the
No,
problem is you just don't know when or if they're gonna turn, right? Like that's the problem.
yeah. And we have to be, I'm kind of a devil's advocate guy anyway. You have to understand what we're asking of them,
Yes, big time.
right? I mean,
You're
yeah,
basically if like if you're telling a Mexican citizen to go against the cartel. That's basically what you're doing.
yeah,
That's all. That's the best way
yeah,
I can explain it.
yeah. If you were in the same position, would you make the same decision?
Yeah, to save your
Um,
family, to do a bunch of stuff. Yeah,
yeah,
that's the
because
best
there's a lot
stuff.
to be said for us, at least, being a volunteer soldier. Um, Volunteers are going to create your best warfighting units ever, right?
Right.
I don't believe in conscription and national service, all that shit. No, bring the people you want to be there,
Yeah,
right?
for sure.
Yeah.
Tough. So okay, so the after the period of like the last deployment you did, and then you're like in the schoolhouse teaching, and
Yep. Yep.
when did you decide like, hey, I don't want to be in anymore? Did you like how long much longer did you serve?
This is going to be a lame story, mate, because I left for a girl. Yeah,
Okay.
I left the military for a girl who basically couldn't deal with the deployment rotations that were going on. I kept most of it hidden. We divorced, a few years later, but she was an American girl that I met in London, and um, yeah, so I followed her to America, and then
Okay.
started serving over here. Didn't work out. Now I've got a house, family, kids, and I was actually getting ready to go back to the UK and rejoin the military, but yeah, I left for her. Yeah, I got to the end of my time, and I was like, look, I'm time locked right now because so I went into a reserve status, stayed in England, and we were separated for almost a year and a half because she
Yeah.
moved back. She was homesick. We were married. And
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
she was homesick, and she just up and left. So I
Oh,
stayed with my mom and dad, and
yeah.
seeing my kids every weekend, going to battalion, driving to work, and I loved it. I didn't want to give it up, but I found a perpetuation in my service anyway by just finding other ways to stay in the fight, I guess.
Yeah, for sure. I
Still,
mean, how did you deal with that? I mean, besides the fact that you did it for a girl, like, did you kind of like did you have like some unfinished business? Like, did you have some resentments over there?
no, I took some time off. I ended up, when I first came over here, I ended up working the circuit a little bit. I worked for a private security company. Um, and they had some corporate contacts with some engineering firms and workplace threats, all that good stuff. So I switched it up and got a job offer while I was still employed by the British Army.
Mhm.
And I showed them that contract as part of because they want you to have resettlement. They have a pretty bad resettlement program, but that's ultimately what I ended up doing is I got a job with an American private security company.
Yeah.
Uh, so
Was it hard, like, transitioning over? Like, did you like, the friends that you lost, did you remember them, or was it did you
yeah,
just kinda struggle with that stuff? I know you
I
guys are
did.
drinkers already naturally when you're born,
Yeah,
so
for sure,
so
man. And I will tell you, I feel very lucky that I have a bourbon collection downstairs and not an empty bottle bourbon collection. That I have a good relationship with social drinking that I never really dove off, and it didn't become my crux. But I also had you know, two children at the time that while I was deploying, I was a young dad, and that is an anchor, an obligation that keeps you squared away,
yeah,
right?
for sure.
You don't have time to bleed. So it's not to say that I didn't, because over time there's been some experience that I have in my current state of service that still trigger back to those memories.
Mhm.
Um, but my wife is a corrections nurse. She's a correctional nurse, so she deals with some tough trauma and PTSD all the time. And she works in a jail with offenders, and so she's always been brilliant. Uh, yeah, so having a good support structure that are clued in, I don't have to go into the details with them.
Yeah.
But for the longest time, mate, the biggest thing I struggled with, I think, is the manner in which we lost our folk, because once they're injured or wounded or killed, um, on the ground, the last memory I have is the rotor wash of the helos. And because we still stay deployed, we don't get to go back for funerals.
Yeah.
My next interaction with them from watching them bleed out and die is to go visit their grave sites.
Yeah.
So that was very challenging for me. Like I have more than PTSD. I have survivor's guilt. That is a
Yeah.
fucking, like, I feel very undeserving. And but I've stayed and remained deeply ingrained with the families and widows of our fallen boys, and I still talk and see and visit them to this day.
Yeah.
If you want to know about it, I'll gladly tell you about my pilgrimage that I took to help.
Mhm.
So after Adam Drain was killed, he was shot and killed in base, taking a rotation. Even though he was a fire team commander, he jumped into the rotation because we were short of men, just to help out, and got shot in the head by a sniper and died um, in my arms on December 7th, 2009.
Alright.
I did CPR, stripped him off, put a FFD around the back of his neck. We pulled him off. He got flown off, shipped off. The bullet hit the back of his top of his body armor plate and then hooked under his helmet and went up into the back of his head and killed him instantly. I was with him when he died, and then ultimately it would be almost a year later when I could actually reunite with his family.
Mhm.
I never got a chance to say goodbye, and I knew I had some shit up here that was not healthy for me. So I went to visit his mom and dad in Stanningfield, and went and met with Des and Jackie and his brother Chris. His brother Chris is nonverbal and talks with sign language, and very, very sweet young brother. Well, his dad grew Adam's wood in his backyard because he has a massive acreage of property, and he built a forest for his son. And over the course of, the growing of this, where the old orchids were, there was oak leaves that fell to the ground. So I took his mother's ribbon that she had tied around her hair. I took oak leaf clusters from his memorial forest, She burned sage and smoked. It was an old Viking ritual. Smoked the effigy, and I took that effigy, met with four of my soldiers on the 115-mile journey from his house on Norse Avenue all the way up to Thor's Cave in Yorkshire in the Peak District, and met with Joe Wazza, and we burned the effigy in the cave, and I yelled his name out the cave window. It's a 90-foot cave, a
Right.
giant hole through the center of a mountain called Thor's Cave in England, and that was my like, you know what? I never grieved, never, never took time for myself. That way of saying goodbye by myself and picking up my own pilgrimage, having my own funeral, an acknowledgement of him and his name and what he stood for as a Viking soldier. That meant a lot to me. And then I ultimately would do something very similar with Robbie and his widow.
Right.
Yeah,
Do you feel like keeping in contact with the survivors of that deployment, does that help you a lot?
I feel like it's a moral obligation and an extension of my duty.
Yeah.
That's what I think.
Yeah. They're the ones that can kind of relate to you the most too.
Hmm. For them, the retrieval, because their last memory is saying goodbye and giving a hug, and then they get this shell, you know, shipped back to England. For us, we have their living, breathing, fighting selves, and then they're left lifeless on a helicopter. There is a dichotomy in there of the passing of our fallen that is different yet the same. And I do feel like just the continuation and the extension of family is a really big deal.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. All right, before we wrap this up, I like to this has been insightful. I mean, like I told you before, I didn't know anything
Yeah,
about
man.
the British Army or anything
Good.
like that. Um give me some dad advice for you right now.
Um, don't project your struggles on your children's struggles. I have a 25, almost 26-year-old son who was diagnosed as autistic, ultimately ended up going to college, got his degree in psychology, and is now a mental health counselor. I have a daughter who, like me, became a young parent. She's 21 years old and has two daughters. So I have three grandchildren total. My son has Arthur James. My daughter has Sienna Rose and Willow. I have an 18-year-old son currently serving in the United States Marine Corps who was a little shithead for most of his teen years. Allow the risk-taking behavior, because if they are going to be fucking buffoons, let them develop their risk-taking to understand what's at stake, and then they might get paid to be a professional buffoon in the US military. God bless him. So he's doing really great. He's got commendations and a promotion recently, so I'm really proud of him.
Right.
And then my youngest daughter is 8 years old, and I am still serving. If I die, they will put an American flag on my casket, not a British one, because my time with the British Army has completed, and that is something I specifically asked for. I still lose my own people and people that I train, and I'm still I'm still connected with that, but also understanding that she's 8 and wants to be a cat and watch unicorn videos. Um, Dumb yourself down a little bit just because we're complicated in here. Keep your delivery of the love that you can give as simple as you can, and that is the
Yeah.
best advice as a dad I can give you.
Yeah. And you already know my next question. We talked about it, dude. What we got? Some spousal advice.
Okay, for that, I kept everything in for the longest time. Communication when you're having rough days, explain what it is. You don't have to go into the details of why you have it. For spousal advice, don't be afraid to tell and be like, I feel a little overwhelmed by this crowd. I think I need to take a step back. Like it's bringing up some of my anxiety, my stress. I feel my heart rate going up. Like if you communicate that with them, they will absolutely take care and understand you. Don't use it as an excuse. Make sure it's legitimate to get out of fucking in-law meals and stuff like that. But
Yeah.
I do get overwhelmed because my brain is busy all the time.
Hmm.
Um, I basically work the equivalent of an intelligence role now. So my brain is constantly analyzing bad guys for all the cool people to go and snatch up. But yeah, that would be my bet. Just communicate and
Yeah.
make sure you put labels to it when you're
Yeah.
having those days. My wife buys me Minden roses every year. So for Minden Day, she buys me red and yellow roses and puts them around the house. Um, she encourages all of my succession plan, right? What do you do after this has been the best thing you've ever done in your whole life, and you're the best you've ever been in your whole life? Well, you might still be deeply important and the best you've ever been in their life, and that is the ultimate duty that you can give to another human being beyond military service. I think is just realigning your sense of honor and duty to them. That would be my advice. And she's the fucking best, man. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, she enables my gaming, my weird Star Wars and car collection that I've got behind me.
Yeah. I
Um,
mean, I got a Dragon Ball
hell yeah,
collection
man.
behind
Yeah,
me. So,
yeah.
um,
That would be my best advice. Just communicate, put labels on
yeah.
it, let them know when you're not okay. It's not a problem. And yeah, I've had intermittent periods of therapy. It's not their fault. It's not their fault. So don't hold them to heel when things go wrong.
Yeah. Yeah, I
They're,
tell that
yeah,
actually that's a lot because I want to highlight what you said. You know, you got to be the better one for your better self, right? For them.
yep,
That's important. That's
yep,
super super important. I always tell people
yeah,
they deserve the best of you.
yeah. And she's a metalhead too, mate. So that really helps.
All right, and then one last thing before we go: the guys that are out there, the guys and gals that are still struggling to heal and everything like that. What would you tell them to do?
Reach out to the people that know and understand. If you haven't made that call to your former veterans, give them a call, send them a message. They care about you and they think about you all the time, whether you are aware of it or not. I didn't realize until I rekindled with a lot of guys, and I stayed fairly consistent with them.
Hmm.
There's a couple of really good ones that have kept me going and allow me a platform to talk. And some are like satellites, right, or comets. They'll come around again once every year, 2, 3, 4, 5 years, and then they're out of the lives. If something's bothering you, hit them up, hit them up, say hi. Hey, I just want to thank you for this day or this day, something you did this for me or whatever. Um, yeah, I mean, I literally have hundreds and hundreds of moments and things to thank other people for. Um, that's what I would tell people to do.
Yeah. Well, Aaron, that's all I got for this episode. Do you have any questions for me?
No, mate, it's been an absolutely pleasure, mate, and I'm glad to fill in some gaps and give you an idea of kind of some insight. And I appreciate you giving me an opportunity to talk to, mate. I think very fondly of my time. It was very hard. It doesn't come with that, but both things can coexist at the same time where you are deeply proud of your service, you are deeply resentful from the losses you make, and you can not be okay and still have moments of joy and not feel guilty about it all the time. And I really wanted to share that with people as best I could. There's a lot of people, mate, that I owe my life to, and I want them to know that I really appreciate it. I wouldn't
For
be here
sure.
if I weren't. So thank you.
Yeah. No, Aaron, thank you so much, man. I
All
appreciate
right,
this
mate.
podcast, dude.
Yeah.
Aaron, ladies and gentlemen,
Got you, buddy. See ya.
thank you for tuning into this episode. If you enjoyed it, please comment, share, and subscribe. Comment will go a long way. Please follow us on our major socials: TikTok, Facebook, and Instagram. New episodes drop every Wednesday at midnight Central Time. If you have anybody you'd like to get on the show, please send them my way. Or if you'd like to get on the show, please send me an email. And with that, we'll catch you on the next episode.